Hey friends, Diana here, and I am so excited to get to share with you today how to make a vegan biscuit that is gluten-free. I don't know how many of you out there are gluten-free vegan or gluten-free dairy-free, which is what we are. And when I look up a dairy-free recipe, it tends to have gluten in it. So this is an adapted version of a recipe I found that I love. I will link in the description where I got the original recipe that I manipulated and changed. But I'm so excited to share this today. Thank you friends for being here on my channel. My name is Diana, of course, and I share gluten-free and often dairy-free recipes that my family actually uses. So these are not just Pinterest, Instagram-y perfect pictures, but what I cook as a mom of two, almost three, children every day that are easy, simple, practical, and relatively healthy. These are not necessarily healthy, these biscuits. You guys, I haven't had a nice fluffy biscuit in a long time. I don't want to say these are super fluffy, but the last couple times I had made biscuits before finding this technique, they were rocks. Not gonna lie, it was pretty bad. There's a few tips and tricks that I've learned that make all the difference. But I am so excited because my mom has this amazing raspberry jam and I have wanted jam on my biscuits for a while, and I'm so excited to be able to eat this and to share it with you so you can enjoy it too. So make sure to comment, subscribe, like, and let's get going. So I got my bowl. We're gonna start off with some flour. Make sure if you're using gluten-free flour mixture that does not have xanthan gum, that you add a pinch, 1/4 of a teaspoon. Because you always need xanthan gum. I don't know why it's not in every mix. Riddle me that.
Riddle me this, riddle me that.
I'm currently using my bread flour mix because it's my favorite mix from Pamela, but I'll also go with just whatever I have. So we're gonna do 2 cups, which I think is about all I have left. So you can find this on Amazon or at your local grocery store. They also have their regular blend, which is really good too. But they are low inventory. I actually reached out because those of you who watch my gluten-free bread recipe, you know that I usually would buy the big 25-pound bag. I reached out to them and they're currently only providing that for like bakeries. So praying that they can get more inventories so I can buy the big 25-pound bag. 2 cups of flour. Then we're adding about a teaspoon of salt. You guys, I so struggle with measuring. Oh, 3/4 a teaspoon, that's right. It's a little less. Then we're gonna add our leavening agents. So we don't use yeast in biscuits. We use baking powder and baking soda. Very important things. Your biscuit will not rise if you don't have these. This is the science, the chemistry. This is when you mix vinegar and baking soda and it does that. It's kind of what we're doing in our biscuit. 1 tablespoon of baking soda and 1/2 teaspoon baking soda. Lots. We need our leavening. So this is all of our dry ingredients. Stir to combine, as they say. So next we're gonna do one of the hardest parts, trickiest, most technical, not too bad, part of making biscuits, and that is adding in the cold butter. Or in my case, this is actually butter flavored Crisco. You could totally use any of those like vegan, non-dairy butters. It's very similar to Crisco. So when I'm baking, this is what I use. It's not healthy, but it works. Okay, so this is where we cut in the butter. Now, if you have one of these handy thingy bobs, That's what I'm gonna use. You can also use 2 knives. You can also use your fingers. Our goal here is to combine this with the flour, and you're gonna want it to look almost like sand. So we kind of just go like this, and we're breaking up the butter into little pieces, and each of those little pieces is covered with flour. That's what we're doing. And the reason you need it super cold is you don't want it to melt into the flour. You want it to kind of hold its own, and that's gonna really help create the more fluffy texture and butteriness of, well, the flavor's there, but it's gonna help create the texture that we want in the oven. We want it to melt when it's cooking, not in my hands or
It melts in your mouth, not in your hand.
here. So you also don't wanna overdo this process. We're closer. So this is pretty good. You see? It looks a lot like sand. So we've done our dry ingredients, our butter, and now our wet ingredient, which is our buttermilk, almond milk. So this is what I would use instead of buttermilk. If you can do dairy, do buttermilk and use real butter. It will taste awesome. I can't, or we're not. So this is almond milk. I just have some plain, boring almond milk. You could use any kind of plant-based milk. Coconut might be good. And then I use a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar to create the buttermilk effect. You could also use a tablespoon of lemon juice. It'd kind of do the same thing. So we're just gonna add this in, and I'm using a wooden spoon just to combine it all together. We're gonna make a kind of slightly sticky dough. Did I say it's 1 cup? It's 1 cup. I'm kind of slowly adding in the milk, and I can add in a little bit more flour if needed. I want it to be a level where I can touch it, but it's sticky. Okay, that looks pretty good. Ta-da! Told you guys I'm not very fancy. I don't have a fancy zoom in camera thing here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make our biscuits now. Put them in the biscuit shape. So here's what I do. Now normally you would flour your table here, pull this out, pat it down, knead it a few times, then roll it out some and cut out biscuits. I am trying to touch this dough as little as possible, and I don't care much about appearances, like exactly how my biscuit looks. I care about how it tastes. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna get a little bit of that buttery grease on my fingers so it's easier for me to handle the dough. And I'm gonna form my patties right now. If your dough is too sticky, add a little bit more flour at a time, like a pinch, just a little bit. Like that's too sticky. Yeah. So now I'm gonna form my biscuits, and I can feel how this feels pretty light. I don't know how to explain it, but it's not dense. So I'm just gonna form a rough shape of a, like, square, I guess. You know, whatever shape you're going for in your biscuits. If you want round, do them more round. Again, you could get a cutter, like a biscuit cutter. To me, this almost feels like Play-Doh. That one's a little big. I'm gonna make some more, and I'm gonna put my biscuits here on my tray. I have a silicone mat down there, which is so handy. It's not gonna stick. It's awesome, and I can just always reuse it.
reduce, reuse, recycle.
So, some tips that I've learned that have helped me, not overhandling the dough. I'm putting them next to each other because they actually need to touch to help them raise up. Oh no, who knew? It helps. And then you need to have your oven hot because we're gonna melt that butter really quickly. So I actually have mine set to 450 degrees and I'm not putting my biscuits in there until it's up to 450 degrees. And then we're gonna cook the biscuits for 10 to 15 minutes. I'll probably be closer to 15 because I've made generously sized biscuits. You can decide what size you want yours to be. These actually work well. You can freeze them. So once they've completely cooled, you could wrap them in a saran wrap, put them in a Ziploc bag, and you could freeze them. They also will warm up the next day. They taste the best right away. But they will always hit that spot. There's my biscuits. Throwing them around. Really easy, really simple, not perfect, but we're going for tasty. So I'm gonna put these in the oven for 450 degrees, 10 to 15 minutes. I'm gonna pull them out when they're just barely like a light golden. Then I'm gonna pull them out. I'm also gonna put a little bit of melted butter on top. This of course is my dairy-free butter. This will create another texture crunch on the top. Also press it down a little in the middle. Okay, my friends, I cooked my biscuits. You all who have been on my channel for a while know I'm a real kind of person. Look what happened to my biscuits. That is not the lightly golden I was going for. So watch your biscuits very carefully. I do have a picture of what they should look like that I can throw up over here so you can see better the right color tone, but I'm gonna try this and see if they're still good because they're not burnt, they're just very toasty. But they're still actually really pretty fluffy and nice in the middle. They're soft, it's just more on the outside. I assume as they dry, they'll get much more hard. They'll be hard. So I want to try this with my butter, yum, and my mom's homemade jam, raspberry. That's my favorite. It just is. I'm feeling generous when I put generous toppings. Mmm. Tastes like a biscuit. No, it is a little more dense being the gluten-free, and because it doesn't have all the buttermilk and some of the butter, oh, but it just really hits the spot with my butter and jam. And with this being a little more cooked, you could totally use this as a base for biscuits and gravy and something like that. Mmm. This makes me so happy. Guys, this is not dry. This is really good. I would love to try this recipe for like dumplings or something like that too. So that will probably be something I try at some point. But yay, let me know what you think. If you like this, make sure to go check out some of our other videos. We have some cake videos. I'm trying to remember all the things we've made. I'm gonna have a pie video coming, so stay tuned, subscribe, and let me know, comment below if there's some videos, especially for the holidays, that you would love to see, so I can help you out. Simple recipes. We do have a Thanksgiving, I have a stuffing and a gravy recipe you can go find. I feel like I have flour on my nose. But thank you guys so much for being here, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and keep baking. You got this.